Hi all, just a quick update. You should probably see over my shoulder there is a fuel tank. It was a cheapie bought off of AliExpress for, I will check, I'll put it up. I think it was about 80 quid maybe delivered. But it was something like that. I'll put it up. And I've just modified it a little bit to make it fit. So I thought I'd do a little interim update about that one. Yeah, so with the fuel tank, I was originally planning on making a fuel tank myself, or thinking about that. I was on good old Ali ordering up some bits and bobs for some of the stuff I sell for karting comes off of Ali. Oh, crikey, trade secrets, perhaps I shouldn't mention that. And like I do, I got distracted and I thought, well, I wonder if I can get fuel tanks. So, one fuel tank, it's 30 litres, so I think big enough. It's got a nice little take off there that's slightly lower down, so it's quite good, but it's a little bit on the big side. So if you see the seat there, if you think of seat on the passenger side, not quite enough leg room. I had a little sit in there and pretended. So I'm going to have to modify that in some way. Again, I'm thinking, I'm not too sure why. Oh, before people question, yeah, fuel tank is fine there. Fuel tank has to be outside of the passenger compartment. One passenger compartment. So basically, the bulkhead, there'll be a bulkhead running along in front of it and down the side of it. So then that is... passenger compartment is obviously this side and fuel tank is that side. Reason for it being all the way up there when I could, like on the Exo Booster, put it behind the seats or something like that, is weight distribution. Because that engine that's not there is so heavy, I need to get as much weight as far forward as possible, and obviously fuel, albeit not a constant weight, is pretty heavy. So at the moment I'm trying to decide what way to modify this, whether to leave it the size it is and kind of just cut this down on a diagonal, a bit like your normal footrest thing, so people would have their feet up sort of here, this sort of level, so when you're sat in the passenger seat you almost perhaps be sat bit like a modern Formula 1 driver does, you know, where their arse is down there and their legs are up here somewhere. I have thought about mounting it the other way round, but it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I can move it back a tiny bit. The only thing that's stopping it going back at the moment is that bracing there, so I can probably just either notch that out or just persuade that in a little bit with a hammer. I don't have a lot of room to play with here. So it's as with every single thing with this car, it's what compromise am I going to make? So the first thing I've done, now please don't, it's the first time I've had welded, so it's not pretty. So I've chopped a chunk out of here and here, because it will fit in that space quite nice and closely. Then what I'm going to have to do, and let's see if you can see from the seat, if I go all the way back there, so when the passenger seat will be about here, there's not much leg room. Now I've sat in, I put the seat across, I've sat in there and I can just about sit, but my legs are bent quite a lot. So what I'm also going to do is just chop a chunk out of the tank at a diagonal. Because when you're sat, imagine that's your feet. If your feet are right back on themselves, it's much worse than if you're at a bit of an angle. So that's the plan with that. I'm going to take a chunk off of that and weld it in like that. I think that would still leave the tank at probably about 25 litres, which to be honest is probably enough, assuming the engine would do about 30 to the gallon. That gives me a range of over 200 miles, which is more than I've got out the Exo Booster. So which was a plan. I've got the range of the XO booster is only about 100, 120 miles, which is a bit low. I know what, you know, these people with EVs, when they talk about range anxiety a couple of times, you know, I've been driving with 120, 130 miles on the clock since last fill up and starting to get slightly apprehensive. Testing the fuel tank consists of 1 cup of coffee, 1 fuel tank, 1 hose pipe. So basically, I'm going to fill that tank right the way up to the brim, and hopefully all of this will stay bone dry. I'm going to sit down and have my cup of coffee and then see where we are. Well, I hope you had your fingers crossed. It seems to have worked. Tank's all the way topped up with water. And at the moment, I'm not seeing any water coming out. So, I'm going to sit here, finish my coffee, and see if anything comes out, but I will leave that tank full of water overnight and see what happens.